This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things could get totally radical. Now today is a very special treat for a lot of you cult movie buffs. I will be interviewing Jeff East. Yes, Huckleberry Finn and young Clark Kent in the original Superman movie. And of course, Wes Craven's 1981 horror classic Deadly Blessing, in which he plays John Schmid. He's been in a lot of great movies. Wow, he was in Up the Creek. He was in the sci-fi miniseries epic The Day After. He was on First and 10. He was in Klondike Fever. He's done a lot of great movies. Pumpkinhead. So much great stuff, and it's going to be great to have him on today. I didn't know that he was on social media for the longest time, but now I do, obviously, and it's going to be just spectacular to have him on today. As March Madness nears the end of the month, this has been a fantastic month, and it's only going to get better. Spring, April is going to be just as awesome and superb. So yeah, here is my interview with Jeff East. So going back in time, I know that you were young when you started acting professionally. At what age did you start gravitating towards acting?
I would say when I was about 5 or 6, my sister planned a neighborhood talent thing where all the neighborhood kids participated. We learned songs, we danced, we, sang all these songs that all the adults would love, and we put it on in the backyard of my house when I was a kid. And we had lights, we had a stage manager. It was really funny, and because my sister was in theater in high school, so
yeah,
she was a big influence on me. So I started singing and dancing at 5, and then I started doing school plays, and I started my sister's ballet class wanted a boy to play Puck in Midsummer's Night's Dream. So I kind of always wanted to be an actor. I kind of always was in front of the stage. I had a band when I was in, when I was 13 and 14, and that's really one of the reasons I got the part of Huck Finn in Tom Sawyer's, because I sang and I had a band, and I was a smart ass. So that's how I got in the business.
Yeah, so you did a lot of musical theater in school?
Yeah, oh yeah. Lots of musical theater in school, in college, in New York, in London. I studied in London and in New York years later. It was just theater and music are a big thing for me.
Nice.
A lot of people don't know that about me, but that's my first 2 films were musicals written by the Sherman Brothers and orchestrated by John Williams. So, kind of interesting way to begin your career.
It certainly is, yeah. And you're from Kansas City?
Yes, sir.
Wow, you're in
Kansas City, Missouri. KCMO.
You're in good company. Dennis Hopper, Dee Wallace, they're from there. Walt Disney, right?
Robert Altman, the guy that played Billy Jack.
Oh, Tom McLaughlin, yeah.
We went to the same high school together. Tom Laughlin.
Yeah.
Chris Cooper's from Kansas City.
Chris Cooper.
Brad Pitt's from Springfield, which is just south of Kansas City.
Right.
Yeah, are you kidding? Oh, Steve McQueen is from Joplin.
Right.
It's funny. I think the movie industry gravitates towards Midwestern looks.
Yeah.
Because there was a mixture of the German, Irish, and English mixture going on in the Midwest. And the movie industry thrived on the looks of guys from the Midwest. Girls, I'm not sure the women all came. Well, Marilyn Monroe was Kansan.
Right.
It's an interesting I have to look into that. Men, though, for sure, a lot of them are from the Midwest.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Ronald Reagan, Illinois, Glenn Ford. You name a lot of them. Gene Hackman.
Right.
Gene and I were good friends. Gene and I were good friends. I like Gene. I liked working with him. I had met him when I was testing for Tom Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Gene had his son testing for the role of Huck Finn as well.
Oh.
And Gene came over to the set and was very gracious, invited me to lunch at the commissary at 20th Century Fox, and they were shooting Poseidon Adventure.
Right.
So I was thrilled because I was 14. I was like, I'd never been in a movie studio. I'd never seen a movie shot. And so he says, come on over, Jeff. I want you to see the shooting of this movie. And we go onto the sound stage, and they're shooting Poseidon, and everything's upside down. Are you still there?
Yeah, yeah. I'm here.
Everything's upside down. And I go, Gene, I said, what the heck is going on? Why is that? He goes, the ship turns upside down in the water. I'm like, oh. So they had to build this set that's all upside down. It's bizarre. And great guy. Love Gene. Really neat guy. And
yeah.
I didn't realize at that time, I was 14, that I was going to be working with him in Superman years later. But he was always very gentle and kind with me, and I met his son, was a great kid, and I met his mother, and it was cool. And then I told him about that experience, and he remembered. He goes, oh, I remember you coming over to the set, and we were laughing about how everything was upside down. And then Ernie Borgnine had come over and introduced himself.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up working with him years later. And then Shelley Winters became good friends of mine. We had breakfast every day at Dupar's. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I just sort of fell into that business feeling like I'd been there before. It was really weird. I don't know how to say it any other way than that. I think I was meant to be an actor in Hollywood.
I
don't know why, but it just happened.
I think I can explain it. I got the same feeling when I started doing my podcast and started going to conventions and meeting people. It's just because, you grow up idolizing them on screen. It's like you feel like you know them, and then when you actually meet them, you're brought back to that place,
Good point. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, it's really funny. I'm working on this movie, Klondike Fever.
Right.
And I'm up in Vancouver, British Columbia, and there's 4 feet of snow outside. And Rod Steiger and I have been drinking, and we've been talking all night. And he says, have you met Angie yet? I said, no. I'm kind of nervous about it. He goes, what are you nervous about, kid? I said, I'm just, I've always liked her, and I've always thought she was really a good-looking woman. And I don't know, I'm just kind of nervous about it because I kind of got a crush on her.
Yeah.
He said, don't worry about it. And Angie turned out to be the nicest, warmest actress I'd ever worked with.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about her.
Loved working with her.
Nice.
And she just turned out to be magical. And it was like, we were like friends. And she's telling me some great Mitchum stories and all these great stories of all the actors that she'd worked with, and Sinatra and all this shit. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
John Wayne, Dean Martin. Yeah. Lot of giants she worked with. So,
go ahead.
Yeah,
I worked with a lot of really good actors, and I worked with a lot of bad actors, too.
Yeah. Everyone has. Yeah. So you were picked out of, 1,000 boys to play Huckleberry Finn? Something like that?
Yeah, they tell me that was 5,000 that they interviewed.
Wow.
Both Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. And we were the ones picked. I remember what happened. I was flown in and tested the first time, and Johnny Whitaker was not there, and neither was Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
There was Philip Brown, Gene Hackman's son, Barry Foster was testing, Jodie Foster's brother, all these young actors in Hollywood that were doing commercials and running around Hollywood being little movie idols. But then they said, we want Jeff East to come back a second time and test with some other actors. They were trying to figure out a chemistry, and I got it. Arthur Jacobs was a smart guy, very good producer. And Don Taylor, the director, and Frank Capra Jr., the producer, were very in tune with the business, and they knew that chemistry meant everything, especially with a film like this. So I went, okay. So I fly back, and there's Johnny Whitaker. They bring his agent onto the set, and she introduces herself to me, and there's Jodie Foster and her mom, Brandy, and we're talking, and I had no idea who they were. I just knew that Johnny was in Family Affair, and I thought, oh, that's cool. And he looks like Tom Sawyer. So they put us together. They took me and Johnny and Jodie, and they put us all three together, and they just turned the camera on, and they started talking to us, just naturally. But we're all dressed up in costume. And so the director goes, hey, what's your name? And the first one they ask is me, and I go, I'm Huckleberry Finn. My name is Jeff East. Johnny took cue to that. He goes, I'm Tom Sawyer. I'm Johnny Whitaker. And Jodie goes, I'm Becky Thatcher. And that's enough of that. And we all three got the part. Oh, she was great. She was at 9, brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
I never met anybody like her, ever, to this day. She spoke fluent French. She was a damn good actress and knew every stinking line and knew every single mark. And her mother was just ball-busting her all day long. It was crazy. And I learned what it's like to be a Hollywood actor. I learned what it's like to be an actor from those two. So I had a good beginning. I had a really good beginning. Plus, I got to work with Warren Oates.
Oh, yeah. One of the greats. How was he?
Are you kidding? I learned how to smoke marijuana. This guy was crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest guys, he had 2 boys that were my age, and we all hung out together. And then he goes, have you ever smoked a little bit of the green? I said, yeah, what are you kidding me? I'm from Kansas. And he goes, are you going to try some of this stuff? And I'm 14 years old. If my parents knew that, they would have killed me. But yeah, Warren was a trip, man. He was fun to work with.
There was a movie.
That movie actually is so well cast and so well done. I still to this day think it's one of the best versions of any Mark Twain book that's ever been done. I still think that.
I agree. Yeah, there was a movie Warren Oates did a couple of years before this. I can't remember the name of it. Dennis Wilson from the Beach Boys and James Taylor are both in it. And James Taylor said in an interview not too long ago that him, Dennis, and Warren Oates were partying throughout the entire movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. I'm telling you. I'll tell you a funny story.
Uh-huh.
I'm doing Superman, and we're up in Banff, Alberta. Mm-hmm. And Larry Hagman and myself and Valerie Prime, they're in my Winnebago. They decided we're gonna take over your Winnebago, Jeff.
Yeah.
I go, okay. So they come in and they start getting stoned. And I'm like, I'm working. I'm like, I can't get stoned. You guys are just... And they drop acid. And I'm like, you're crazy. And I'm like 18 years old, 19 years old, fluttering around. I'm like, you're working at this big movie. Here's these movie stars in my trailer getting stoned, drinking wine. Valerie Prime's trying to bang me on the back of the Winnebago. I'm like, are you crazy? I swear to God, that is the truth. And Larry Hagman was the biggest party animal I've ever met in my life. And Valerie Prime.
Yeah.
And what a trip. That was such a weird experience. And I'd never had that happen in any movie I'd ever done. But they were getting totally blitzed.
Yeah.
I mean, blitzed. And, I thought, it's weird. I never, ever, ever did anything on any time I was on screen. Any time was I ever altered by drugs, alcohol, anything. Nothing. Yeah. I always was straight-laced, to the focus, to the focus, to the focus. These guys were like crazy.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was actually fun because it was the first time I'd ever experienced that. And that was from Superman. So we were up in Alberta. Wow.
Yeah. You did this one movie called The Curious Case of the Campus Corpse, and I read a story that you fell down wearing a jockstrap while you were running.
True.
Yeah.
With Charlie Martin Smith. And I actually said the line. They kept it. He says, I thought my dick froze off and fell.
Yeah.
My dick froze and it fell off. And
Yeah.
Charlie goes, don't worry about it. I'm like, what? And that line's in the movie, and I really did fall down. That's no bullshit. That was not a CGI stunt. It wasn't a stunt. It was real. They kept it in the movie. Amazing.
You must have hurt for days. Yeah, you must have hurt for days.
That's why I got Superman. That's why I got Superman, was that movie. Dick Donner was interviewing editors, and Carol Littleton, who edited that movie and E.T. and other movies, great editor, she was editing The Hazing, and Dick Donner came in to meet with her, and he goes, what movie are you editing right now? And she said, I'm doing this little, minor independent film, but you ought to see this. It's very interesting. And she starts watching it, and he goes, who's the guy that played? That's interesting, because I'm getting ready. And she says, you ought to talk to Jeff. That's how I got the part. I didn't even have to read for Superman. They gave me the role.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I talked to Diane Sherry last year.
Yeah.
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 She was a very nice lady.
How'd that go?
She was a very nice lady. She didn't have much to say about Superman, but she was very nice.
Didn't have much to say about Superman.
Yeah.
Biggest film of her career. That's interesting.
Well, she, little bits and pieces here and there and stuff, right? But like every time I brought up Richard Donner, she didn't have anything to say about that. And then I saw her post a very disparaging Facebook status about him recently, which I won't repeat. I was shocked, and she deleted it after only a short time.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I can't believe she did that.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Diane. I really liked her. In fact, I was actually dating her.
Mm-hmm.
And some weird stuff happened while we were working on the film. And her boyfriend ends up coming up from L.A. and caused a big scene, and I never could get over it. It was really weird. And this has happened before in Hollywood. Sharon Stone's done this with some boyfriends of hers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is, but I really liked Diane. I really got a good relationship going with her. She was cool. And then I spoke about this on a radio show, and she got mad. Like I had violated her. And I thought, wait a minute. You're the one that screwed this deal up. We were having fun making the movie, and we happened to be dating each other, so what? So I talked about it, and everybody's excited. It's Superman and Lana Lang, and I said I didn't think there was anything wrong with saying something about it. But at the Comic-Con, she got really upset about it.
Yeah.
Then she told me something about Donner that was so bizarre.
Yeah, I think I know what you're... Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
Like, what?
I think I know what you're talking about. It was that status I saw.
So
yeah.
I called Donner.
Yeah.
And said, hey, Dick, I don't know what's going on, but you need to know this is what she's saying about you. And I said, it's wrong. It shouldn't even be talked about. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And it almost makes me think about all this Me Too stuff and all the women that are angry. It's usually coming from women that are frustrated with their careers and lives and marriages or whatever they're frustrated with.
Right.
And they just take it out on powerful men.
Right.
And you know what? I'm all for equal. I never have treated a woman badly. I cannot believe what's going on with some of the crap with some of these people that do stuff. Harvey Weinstein is a scumbag, and he belongs in jail. In fact, he should probably be put to death. He's an idiot. But I can't believe, though, if you look at the reverse of this, how much it's damaging people's careers.
It is.
Not even fucking true. Not even true.
Yeah. I mean, little bits. I mean, I'm sure some stories are true, but a lot of it, there's lots of made up stuff there. Stuff that we don't even need to know. Like, in 1977, Dustin Hoffman asks his personal assistant for a foot massage. Do we really need to know that,
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can tell you 1,000 stories
Yeah.
Now, you would think I was the biggest, cock swinger in all of Hollywood, and it turned out that I was the one on the other side of it. They were coming after me. And they would say, oh, no, he screwed all of us. Well, it's all dependent on who it's coming from and what point of view you have and who you're hearing from. It's unbelievable. And all I know is right now in America and in the world, women are lashing out at everything. Look at the Mia Farrow, Woody Allen, who I love Woody Allen.
Oh, yeah.
Love him.
Oh, yeah.
Love his work.
All,
that is such bullshit.
all the people who are on Mia's side.
It is bullshit.
All the people on Mia's side are people who don't even like his movies, and they've said that. I'm like, yeah, that shows how low your credibility is. It's crazy.
All you gotta do, ask Tina Sinatra what Mia Farrow was like with Frank and what she did to him and what she said about him. Vicious.
I totally agree.
Vicious.
I could see it in her eyes. I could see it in her kids.
I read Woody's book.
Yeah.
And I judged for myself after reading his book, and I went, you know what? This is typical media manipulation.
Yes. I agree.
Well, it is.
I agree. So back to Superman. How was working with Glenn Ford?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny story, though. Glenn and Phyllis Thaxter did not like each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Phyllis Thaxter was Ilya Salkind's mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. He was married to Sky Aubrey. And that's Phyllis Thaxter's daughter. Well, I didn't know this. I didn't know. I didn't know Phyllis Thaxter was a nice woman and good actress and liked working with her. And she was very friendly. And she tells me, while we're working with Glenn, she goes, he didn't want to drive in from the airport with me in the limousine. I said, what? And she says, he refused to get in the limousine with me at the airport. I go, why? He goes, I don't know. He's offended by me. I go, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So they had me bring another limo to go pick him up. And so she's telling me the story while we're working together, and I'm like, I'm not sure I really want to know why or where, or did he try to fuck you, or whatever happened.
Yeah.
Back in the day at Fox, I was in the dressing room and Glenn came in swinging his dick. I mean, I don't want to know. I just want to do the scenes. And she starts telling me that, he's kind of mean to me and blah, blah, blah. I was like, what is the history? I never got it. I never was told what the history was. But then I start hearing these stories about Glenn Ford and, people in Hollywood, they'd go to his house and he'd have these parties and stuff like that. And I'm hearing all this stuff. I'm like, I don't care. He's a great actor. And I'm going to tell you, those scenes that we did in Superman were done in one take.
Mm-hmm.
One. That's it. We did the master, we did the two-shot, then we did that's it. That was it. It took us probably 2 hours to shoot that stuff. And they were really good. Because he's that good. He's that good.
Yeah. My favorite part of the movie was actually cut, but it's shown up in like the TV version and the DVD. It's when you're running past the train and little Lois is on there and she's like waving at you. Yeah.
Kirk Allen. Kirk Allen and Lois Lane with Noel Neal.
Yeah.
And that was all planned out. That was a big PR thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it
cool.
didn't.
We did that.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't show up in the theatrical print because that was just brilliant.
I agree. That's Dick Donner's idea. Yeah.
How was filming in the Fortress of Solitude?
Boring as fuck. It was, I gotta tell you, I've been in like 7 or 8 films before I did this one.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't new to the game, but I was new to England, shooting in England. I'd never shot in England before.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, this is an interesting experience. And Christopher Reeve wasn't the friendliest guy in the world. And I thought, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
He's constantly badgering about how I'm going to play the role and what am I going to do. I'm like, you're not the director. Shut up. And, we're shooting all this stuff, and Jeff Unsworth's going, okay, Jeff, walk up the ice. So I'm walking up the ice. Cut. The smoke's not right, and it's constant. A month of going up the Fortress of Solitude. So it was boring. It was, how do I put it? They kept testing my wigs.
Yeah.
They kept testing my nose. They kept and Christopher Reeve kept playing chess with me and kicking my ass. That was not a fun experience.
Yeah.
The best part about it was I was going out dancing with Valerie Perrine every night in London, so that was fun.
It was a beautiful
She was
set.
crazy.
It was a beautiful set, though. It was amazing. Did you get to
Yeah.
did you get to spend any time with Marlon Brando?
Marlon Brando never had any time with him at all. Zero. And I wanted to. I was excited, but I never got to see him. I flew in the day after he left, and I heard all these great stories about Marlon, and they said, "Hey, it's your dad." I'm like, "Yeah, no," but I never met him. I always wanted to. Jack Nicholson and I are friends, and he lived next door to Jack, and I never, ever met Marlon. I wish I had. It bothers me to this day that I never got to meet him.
That is unfortunate, yeah. Most people, though, had negative experiences with him, though, because he was just so unpredictable. You didn't know if he was being rude or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the stories on Superman are unbelievable. I mean, he literally wanted to play the character as a bagel.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't kidding. And they said, no, you got to play a real guy. You got to wear this costume. You got to come to work. He goes, well, how much does it cost to make this movie per day? And they're all at dinner with Saul Kine, Donner, Mankiewicz, Christopher, and they say, it's ridiculous. It's like $150,000 a day. He goes, I'll pay for it. I want to take the day off tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Marlon, you can't do that. I mean, it's crazy. But I will say this about Marlon, and that I've heard this is true.
Yeah.
Brando always questioned the director when he went to work on a project.
Oh, yeah.
And if the director didn't have a vision, didn't have a purpose, didn't have an understanding of what he was trying to provoke out of this film, he would give the director a hard time. He couldn't do that, Donner. Donner had a vision.
Excuse me.
He had a goal. He knew, verisimilitude, he knew exactly what he wanted to do with this.
Right.
And he believed in the project. And that's why Brando behaved himself. That's a true story.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, to this day, if you watch the film, it's there. It was all on paper, then they put it all on film, and now it still works to this day.
I think he had like the highest salary ever paid for a person with short screen time in a movie at that time. It's like it was like,
correct.
I think $4 million for like 12 minutes or something.
12 days. Yes, 12 days of work.
Mm-hmm.
$4 million. I think Burt Reynolds broke the record, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mistaken, for Cannonball Run.
He did.
But Brando had the record until then.
Burt Reynolds had $5 million in like 5 weeks of shooting on Cannonball Run.
There's a funny story about that. Burt was told that he couldn't do that, and the head of the studio at Paramount said, "Burt, you're shooting this other film with Joe Claver, and we can't let you go." Blah blah blah. Al Ruddy is saying, "No, wait, it's $5 million."
Yeah.
For 5 weeks. And he goes into the head of the studio, I won't say who his name is, doesn't matter, head of the studio, and he goes in there and he goes, Al, did you say $5 million for 5 weeks? He says, I sure did, Bert. And Bert looks over to the head of the studio, and the studio is just shaking his head. Bert goes over and picks him up by his collar and says, Al, did you say $5 million for 5 weeks?
Yeah.
And he put him back down in the chair. He said, okay, you can do it. Go ahead, do it. True story.
Wow.
Well, yep.
Speaking of...
I won't say who it was, but
it's okay.
It doesn't matter.
It's okay. Speaking of directors, you worked with Wes Craven a couple of times, first on Summer of Fear and then Deadly Blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great guy.
anything stand out about the guy?
Really liked working with him. He felt like my brother. We were good friends, and we worked with Sharon Stone on her first film.
Deadly
Blessing. An experience.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know what she was fucking doing. And beautiful girl. And Wes kept saying, I'm having such a hard time with her. Why don't you become friends with her and kind of talk to her and, see if you can kind of give her some tips? And I'm like, all right. So I kind of hung out with Sharon Stone for the summer or whatever. We were there in the fall in Dallas for like 3 months. And we got to be good friends. And Susan Buckner and I and her and Mary Jensen didn't spend much time with us. She was off with Don Henley all the time. And he lived down there. And but Sharon and I became very close. And I said, Sharon, you just need to be yourself. Calm down. Relax. Be yourself. Don't worry about the camera being turned on with all the lights and all that. Forget about it. You got to block it out. She didn't understand that. And she was a model, which is funny. But she was absolutely stunning girl. Photogenics, unbelievable. And so I got to know her, and I got to meet her family, and I got to hear about her family. We'd go race go-karts together and do stuff with my wife and I. It was just fun. And we got to be really close. And I actually got her first agent. So,
nice.
That was an experience. But Wes was a very cerebral, very introverted type director. I liked Wes. I loved working with Wes. I thought he was brilliant. But I prefer working with a director who's more overt, more kind of like takes over the set and like, the boss is here, like a Donner or like a Don Taylor or like Donner is one of the best directors I ever worked with. But Wes Craven had a very insidious way of working and strange stuff, and he always had weird stuff come into his films. But I think he was more of an editor type guy than he was a directorial type guy. He wasn't a John Ford. He wasn't a Dick Donner.
Yeah.
He was more cerebral. Does that make any sense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about Wes.
A great guy. Oh, my God. What a wonderful, sweet, nice, gentle. I gave him a tarantula when we were doing Deadly Blessing as a gift. And he kept it for years. He had a pet tarantula, and I gave him.
Mm-hmm.
I went and bought it at a weird animal store. I don't know if you could buy tarantulas.
Yeah,
I found one.
You can buy tarantulas, but you can't buy piranhas.
Right. You can't buy piranhas. You're right.
Oh, how was working with Michael Berryman?
Great. Oh, shit. Michael Berryman was with me the night John Lennon got shot.
Oh.
We were playing poker with the two writers of Deadly Blessing in my hotel room with my wife. We're all getting drunk. And we're watching Monday Night Football. And the announcement came across that John Lennon had died. We all cried. It was weird. Michael's a great guy.
Michael is, I've known him through the years through conventions, and I just had him on the podcast back in November. He was deeply affected by the election. We had like a 30-minute conversation over the phone the night before, and he was just going on and on about politics and stuff. And then the next day, when we actually did the interview for an hour, it was no better. He just sounded very depressed. But he did an interview the other day I saw, and he's a little bit happier, not too much, but a little bit happier.
What election are you talking about?
Oh, about Biden and Trump.
Oh, is he a Trumper?
He's a Biden guy.
Oh, well, they won.
Yeah, I know, but he's been deeply affected by the pandemic and all of that stuff. But yeah.
Well, all of us. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm in France. We're in lockdown for another month.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even go out of my house without an attestation to go to the store to get water. It's like insane. You guys have no idea what lockdown is. You really don't.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I live in a country that is so friggin' ridiculous, and we've got problems. We got COVID outbreaks, and it's, I don't know what to make of all this crap. But I got my vaccine, and I'm going to get my second one in May. So
I had mine.
A little bit better. I'm producing a new show for Netflix, and I'm very happy with what's going on. I've been working on it for a year, and I decided, I'm not going to let this COVID get me down. I'm just going to stay focused and write and produce and act and not let this bullshit get to me.
Yeah, I had my first vaccine last week. I'm having another one in a couple of weeks. But before we get to the new stuff, I wanted to ask you. I was working on The Day After because I've interviewed Lori Lethan and Nick Meyer.
Love Nick. Love Lori. Hey, that was my hometown, man. Mm-hmm. The only reason I wanted to do that movie was because it's Kansas City, which is where I grew up. It was a very important issue, and it was probably one of the most depressing films I ever worked on. It was just depressing. And it was a bad time in our country when I really thought that this could possibly happen.
Right.
And I just hope that the current administration doesn't go too far with their rhetoric, because I think we're very close to being not human enough and too controlled by philosophy and crap on the internet. I think we need to really take a deep look at everything and take a deep breath, because that could happen.
Oh yeah, we're in that sci-fi show V. I mean, it's just it's scary.
I just hope it never happens, because if it does, that's it. It's over. If you ever read Fate of the Earth, which is what Ed Hume based the script on, it's not pretty. In fact, ABC would not allow it to be actually told the real way it should happen, which is total annihilation.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would not be like that, but there would be no movie. Once the bombs dropped, there would be no movie.
Right.
No story. It'd just look like Mars. That's the truth.
Absolutely. And lots of people believe Mars exists. As they should.
Well, it may be a good place to go.
Yeah.
This crap keeps up.
It takes like 7 months to get there or something.
God.
Well,
they'll figure that one out. They'll figure that one out.
Yeah. You're my fourth guest from Up the Creek.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I love that movie.
That was a fun movie. That was a blast. Who'd you interview from that?
Jennifer Runyon, Julia Montgomery, who's a close friend of mine. We have dinner whenever whenever I'm in LA, and Sandy Hellberg.
3 of my favorite people. Oh my. Well, we had a good time on that movie.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish I still had some money left over from all the drugs we bought.
I know Julia told me the first time we talked. She was so honest. She was so honest about all the partying she did on movie sets back then.
My wife was a drug mule. She'd bring it up from L.A. and she was the mule with Tim Matheson's girlfriend. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like in the drug business.
Yeah.
It was weird. That was such a fun movie to make, though.
Mm-hmm.
And Papa was a raging drunk. He was drunk all the time. And, and Tim Matheson and myself and Blaine Novak and Sandy went into his hotel room one night and said, "Hey, Bob, we want to just change some things on the script, and we just do some stuff. And Bob kept going, "Oh, it's great, it's great." It was terrible. Yeah, it's great, it's great. Well, I'll see you tomorrow on the set. Make sure you remember your lines. Yeah. It's like, Bob, we're trying to help you. We're trying to make the movie better. No, it's great. It's great.
Jim.
That was an experience, man.
Jim Quoth.
Trying to convince a director
Yeah.
that his movie sucked.
Yeah.
And trying to just make it a little bit more interesting for the audience. No.
Jim Quoth wrote the movie, and he's a very underrated comedy writer, I think.
Well, and Jeff Sherman wrote it too. Jeff Sherman, Jim Quoth.
Yeah.
Some good writers on that. And we actually had some funny ideas. Sandy Helberg had some great ideas. And Stephen First. Stephen and I had worked on The Day After a year before that. We're in Kansas together. It's really funny. And then Stephen goes, Jeff, we're here in Bend, Oregon. Let's bend over. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. My brother had it on tape when I was a kid. Used to watch it all the time. You were on the first HBO sitcom, First and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, how was that?
Delta Burke. That was great. I was trying to bang Delta Burke the whole time I was working on it. I was like, wow. And, it never happened. She was dating the head of HBO at the time, and it was fun. I just was hot for Delta. I just wanted Delta. That's all I thought about.
Was she dating Albrecht?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. At
wow.
that time, yeah. It was funny, too, because I got to be really friendly with her, and I really liked her. I mean, I would have definitely probably married her. I really dug her.
Yeah.
But, she had a rich boyfriend. And then I thought, and it was funny, I got fired because O.J. Simpson was put on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that motherfucker, he got mad. He told the producer that, he goes, why is Jeff, he's getting paid more than me? I'm O.J. Simpson.
Right.
They're like, well, what's wrong, Juice? We're the ones to be unhappy.
Juice.
So they fired me. They wrote me out of the show, and I thought, what? Because I was getting paid more than him. God. And he ended up taking over producer role and blah, blah, blah. That jackass. And then he ended up, we sold the thing to syndication, and he murders his wife.
Yep.
Boom. No more residual checks.
That sucks.
Jackass. That guy is the biggest douchebag in all of Hollywood. Trust me.
I know one of my best.
You know what? Nobody liked working with him. He's a jerk.
Oh yeah.
Tried to screw everybody's girlfriend or wife or OJ. If you're listening, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, one of my best friends was actually used to be roommates with OJ's brother, and when he first told me about it, I didn't believe him, and then when I went over to the house, I see all these pictures of OJ laying around. I'm like, what? Really?
That's a dick.
Yeah.
Dick.
Oh God, that's crazy.
And I knew his ex-wife, and I knew Ron because I moved out in Agora, and I was friends with Ron's family, and it's just. It's just one thing after another. And I was living in Agora when that happened. And it was just like horrible. And I was married to a friend of the Goldman family. And it's just one thing after another. And then they let the son of a bitch go. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Did you work with Did you work with John Kassir?
I don't know if we ever worked together.
Okay, he probably was there after you left or something. Yeah, he was on.
I don't think so.
He was on the remaining seasons. Everyone knows him as the Crypt Keeper on Tales from the Crypt.
Right, but I don't think I ever worked with him. I know John, but I just don't remember working with him. No.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
No, he is.
It's okay. And of course, Pumpkinhead. That movie has had such a huge cult following over the years. How was working on that?
God, I hated it.
Really?
I hated working on that movie. That was a miserable I mean, it was all night shooting. We're in Topanga Canyon. They're blowing dust and rocks in my eyes all night long. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I wasn't getting paid that much money. And I was like, this is stupid. And then I find out that Dino De Laurentiis was the producer. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
We're getting paid scale. Are you kidding me? They figured out a way to screw the actors in that deal. And Lance Henriksen is great. I love Lance. He's phenomenal to work with. And Sidney Bain. But Stan Winston, you know, it's funny. I like Stan. I think he's a fucking brilliant artist when it comes to creatures and all that. That's all he gives a shit about.
Yeah.
He didn't give a shit about the actors. He didn't give a shit about anybody other than the creatures.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's the difference between him and Donner. He ain't got no fucking care for anybody other than the goddamn creatures. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll probably get, 40 lashes for this, but I don't care. I'm producing my own movies anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I'm just telling you that it wasn't that great of an experience. I liked Lance Henriksen. I didn't like the role. I thought it was boring. And I thought the creature was great. I thought Pumpkinhead was great. And I cannot believe how many people like that movie, but they do.
Yeah. Did you get along with Carrie Remsen?
I love Carrie.
Yeah.
She's great.
I interviewed her.
Jennifer Runyon.
Yeah.
Jennifer Runyon was up the creek with me, so.
Jennifer connected me and Carrie a couple years ago. Yeah. I had a great interview with her.
Great. She's awesome. She's an awesome gal. Her mom was an awesome person, and dad. Jesus Christ. You're talking about a showbiz family. Great people.
Oh, yeah.
Really nice people.
And these ladies too, they're not doing the hashtag Me Too shit. They're very grateful for what they have. And one actress you worked with, I wanted to bring up who is doing the Me Too shit is Lisa Langlois, who you worked with on Klondike Fever.
Well, I love Lisa. I really like her, and I have a lot of respect for her, and I don't want to say anything else other than that because we're friends, and if I wasn't married to my current wife right now, I'd probably be going out with her because I really dug her. I think she was a cool lady.
Yeah, I had a weird experience interviewing her. She was one of my earliest interviews, but yeah, you're right. We don't have to be negative and go into that.
Yeah, I know, and you know what? I think a lot of that comes from wanting to raise the level of who they are, rather than the reality of it. They want attention, and I totally understand what you said. But she came to me when we were doing Klondike Fever, and I'm going to tell you a story.
Okay.
And asked me, was the producer a little weird? Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah. Be careful. I warned her. I said, the guy's probably going to try and bang you. He's probably going to try and get you to sleep with him. Because he's a kind of a horn dog. And how else is he going to get anybody unless he's producing the friggin' film? Right. Well, sure enough, it happened. And she came to me and she says, I appreciate you telling me that. So I kind of liked that because she was real straight with me and real honest. And I warned her. I said, you're a good-looking girl. You're young. He's probably going to try and approach you. And that's what he did. Mm-hmm. And, that kind of crap goes on all the time. It happened more to women than it ever happened to me. I mean, if I got approached by a lady producer, I would have been, let's go, baby.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys would. So, did you leave? So did you leave acting after a while and then come back to it?
Yeah. I left it for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. Got into real estate, started doing development of real estate with my father, and in California and in Kansas City. Had a good career with doing that, and then they asked me to do a play in Kansas City. I did it. Then I did another one. Then I did another one. Then they started asking me doing these little independent films. So I did 4 or 5 films. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I just stick with the business, just go back into it? And so now I've become a writer, producer, actor, but mainly a producer of TV and film, and I've got a film company, production company, and we just made our first deal for Netflix, and I'm excited. It's a Western.
Nice.
And it's an 8-hour limited series for Netflix.
We need Westerns to come back. They are just wonderful. You know, there were so many of them back in the day. You could make them cheap. You could make them expensive. You could tell any type of story in a Western.
Exactly. And that's what my plan is to do. I've been working on it for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Greenfield, my agent, and Danny Grodnick, the producer that I'm working with, and we're talking to Kevin Reynolds to direct. But it's an 8-hour limited series based on Bill Tillman, the marshal from the 1800s and 1900s, and the Pendergast machine of Kansas City. And it's basically a broad spectrum on the turn of the century United States and what was going on in Oklahoma and Kansas then. And it's exciting because it's a true story. And I love working on stuff like this because a lot of history I have to read and a lot of things I didn't know. There's even bad black cowboys, believe it or not. There's all kinds of interesting characters in this. And Ronald Parker is the writer. And he's been working with me for a year. And Ronald did Hatfields and McCoys. I don't know if you ever saw that, but
Yeah.
very good miniseries with Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
We're talking to Kevin Reynolds, but we're also talking to Josh Brolin to play the lead role. So keep your fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. It's not up to me. It's up to the network to make the commitment.
Of course.
But I'm the executive producer, and I will have a small role, I'm sure, somewhere. I don't really like being in a film that I'm producing. I'd rather just be one job or the other. But this is too good of an opportunity to take a good role in something that's got some great characters in it.
Oh, that's good. Do you do the conventions?
Yes, I do the conventions when they have them.
Yeah.
I'm doing one in Reading, England in November.
In November?
I'm doing one, well, when's the next one? Oh, I'm doing one in Paris in April. I think they didn't, June. They moved it to June because of the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I've got a full slate of probably 20 Comic-Cons all throughout the world for 2022.
That's good. That's good. Have you been invited to any of those virtual ones? That they look like they're terrible, and I've heard they are.
One virtual one. Derek, my agent, got me a virtual one. We did it with Sarah Douglas, Jack O'Howard, and Aaron Smolinski. That was last 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of cool. You know, they're different. But, you know, there's nothing like the real Comic-Con.
Exactly. Oh, my God.
It's too bad. It's sad.
The energy.
But it's going to come back. Everybody's going to get vaccinated. Everybody's going to get back to health.
Yeah.
It's all about being safe and being healthy. We've lost a year of our lives, but we can also gain a year of our lives. You know, just be smart.
Yeah, I mean the energy of a Comic-Con is just it's infectious, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I took my wife to 2 of them, and she was like, "Wow, this is crazy." It is. They're crazy. And they're fun.
Yeah,
and it's great because the fans get to talk to the people in the movies, and it's cool for them. And I get excited for them. I was like, "Wow, that's really awesome." You know, it's not about the money. You know, everybody goes, "Oh, you guys make money." I'm like, it's not really about the money. In fact, we don't make that much money compared to what we get paid to do the film.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting experience just to talk to people about what they, oh, this movie really touched me. It's really cool to listen to that and hear it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me I really like doing them. And it's only because I like to hear what people have to say. And it actually makes their life. They're like, "Oh, this is such a great experience for me." And I'm like, cool. Plus, they're very entertaining, all the different people that are there. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
What a plethora.
Yeah, and actors who hadn't seen each other in years, they get to reunite, and then
Yeah.
they get to hang out.
Exactly, and I get to be friends with these guys.
Yeah.
You know, they're all like, "Oh man, I've never met you, but I'd love to work with you," and blah blah blah. And you know, I've never made a deal with any of them, but I've become friends with a lot of them. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm. It's ironic, yeah. Well, Jeff, I thank you so much for coming on today, and I hope that your Western series does very well. I will watch it.
Thank
and
you. I will keep you updated. It's currently called The Lawman, but it's going to probably change. Netflix is probably going to change the title, but I will let you know. And as soon as a big announcement, you'll be reading about it.
Awesome, and I hope I get to meet you at a con someday.
Looking forward to it. You take care, my friend.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Jeff East. Ain't he a cool dude? Hello? Well, there you have it. Jeff East. Ain't he a cool dude? What a nice guy, huh? And very good stories, you know, some of them angry, some of them good, you know, happy. And it was a real honor to talk to him today. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.